Hi, and welcome to Worried About Nothing. Today we're going to talk about how to start a spiritual journey, or what to do when you start your spiritual journey. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Katya.
And I'm Kim.
And welcome to our show today. I didn't know I was on a spiritual journey is what I'm going to say. Looking back, I'm like, I kind of feel like I started this a long time before I even realized that I was kind of studying spirituality. I was listening to a CD. Well, it's not on a CD anymore, but so MP3s on my phone on my way home the other night of mantra music that I had listened to back in 2011, 2012, and I didn't even realize the spiritual nature of it. I had just gotten the CD from one of the people who worked at the yoga studios I was interning at, and I used to listen to it in my car all the time, singing and chanting along. And I was just thinking about it on my way home, and I was like, wow, I was doing this 10 years ago now, and I didn't even realize that I was chanting mantras and kind of the powers behind it and stuff like that. So I'm going to start this off by saying, I don't know that you're aware that when you started your spiritual journey, if you find yourself on one.
I personally wouldn't separate, I personally do not separate so much the spiritual journey. I think to me, it's mostly the belief. I'm sure you might not be on a spiritual journey, but if you believe in God, and then you might be doing certain things in your life, they're already leading you to something. So in a way, you can say it's already a spiritual journey. So I just went to do my teeth cleaning to a hygienist, and we were talking about Jesus. And she just said that she joined a different church where they actually go back to their original readings of Aramaic. And even though she's not doing meditations or things like that, but you could say she is somewhat on a spiritual journey, because she was trying to sell a house and then she couldn't, and people in the church suggested that she does something with the land. And she did it, and then she saw I kind of say it, Archangel Michael, how do you say it?
Archangel Michael.
Okay, Archangel Michael, and I know that many people saw him in this bus specifically. So to me, that's already a spiritual journey. Sure, you might not be doing it, from meditation mantra point of view, so you're doing it from the Christian point of view. But it is in a way a spiritual journey, whichever way you can do it from. It might lead her to something else, and then we were speaking about oneness and other things. So she is learning bits and pieces just through Christianity. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. There are definitely different routes to the spiritual journey. And I feel most people, if not everyone, is in some ways on a spiritual journey, in that I'd imagine that almost everyone gets to a point, whether they're aware of it or not, where they go, what is the meaning of life? Why am I here? Is there somebody bigger than, or something bigger than me? What is all of this existence about? And that sparks some questioning, and wherever the questioning leads could be termed a spiritual journey or an anti-spiritual journey, depending on which road you go down. But I feel that unless you're so blocked off or self-centered that you don't even question the fact that you are alive, or ask why you're alive, or want to know what the meaning of life is. And I guess it kind of hits at different points in life. So if you're a teenager, it might not be relevant yet, but it might hit you a bit later in life. I feel that sparks it. So like both of you were saying, the spiritual journey can start without any awareness or conscious awareness on your part that this is what you're doing. You wouldn't term it the spiritual journey. It's just a quest in some ways. You kind of put on your knight's outfit and you've got on your horse and you're going on that quest, and you're just looking for what is life. I feel you can enter it from different routes. So like Katya, you were saying, through the church route, or just believing in God in a different way. In some ways, that's almost the purest way, is opening yourself up to just the possibility that there's a God or there's somebody bigger than you out there. Because that immediately kind of brings a bit of humility in, that it's not all about you. There's somebody else, or there's something else. Because I feel that sometimes these days anyway, and maybe I'm just old, but these days, some of the spiritual journey, in inverted commas, that seems to be the path that's laid out for people to follow, whether you want to call it New Age or something else, there can be too much of a focus on yourself, and I feel that, yes, it's important to love yourself. Yes, it's important to honor yourself. But for me, the spiritual journey, or without even terming the spiritual journey, just my belief is that God exists and God is bigger than me and God created me. Therefore, it's not about me. So loving myself is not about loving myself as the be all and end all, but loving myself as part of what God created or as part of God. And I feel that that's an important distinction to make. And I've just rambled on again.
I agree with you, though. I do. Because I feel like a lot of people fall into that trap of self-love, and it ends up being an ego-building thing instead, or you find stories about yourself or attributes about yourself that you like, and we know from being on with the teachings that we've been learning is that everything comes and goes. So if you're attaching to a particular preference you have, like you guys know, I follow a lot of politics and stuff, and I identify very heavily with that, then that's going to be another trap. Because if, my soul or source wants me to do something that doesn't seem to be in alignment with that, it's going to cause conflict. So I do think it's great that you brought that up, because it is kind of something that I've been struggling with a little bit, because I've been working with divine love, and I'm like, how does this all work? Loving God, loving myself, what does it really mean? And trying to weed through like these attributes that I have, and I'm like, but this is all personality, these things change. So seeing it as you're loving yourself because you are a part of God, that's beautiful, and it just makes so much more sense.
Yeah, thank you for rephrasing that for me. Thank you. Because I feel it is important, because I believe that the spiritual ego and ego in general can really leap in all the time. And we all know this, that it can be very insidious and all of that. But I feel that just, touching on what you were talking about, Danielle, people can sometimes make a religion out of self-love and it being all about oneself. And for me, a spiritual journey is dismantling everything I think and know or believe that I am, until there's nothing left, until I realize that all there is God. And because all there is God, who or what I am is irrelevant, so building up the temple of it's all about me and I'm, effectively putting myself in the place of God is the anti-spiritual journey to me, because it's not about humility. It's not about breaking down the ego. It's about raising it up so big that you're just putting tons of labels on it then, and sometimes you can see people that are on what they call the spiritual journey, bringing in energies and more power in order to control others, or in order to control their environment, or just control things generally. And for me, that's the antithesis, because if you're opening yourself up to God, effectively, if you're on a spiritual journey and you're opening yourself up to God and wanting anything that is you to disappear or be dismantled, it's the opposite of controlling. It's letting go of control. It's letting go of everything. So to use it, it's like there's a little meme I saw the other day. What was it called? I can't remember exactly the wording. I'm going to paraphrase, but somebody, and I can't remember who it was, said, sometimes you, as in people, believe in God and use God, imprison God in a cage of their own devising in order to lie, cheat, steal, and manipulate under the guise of being devoted or under the guise of being believers in God. So, and that's a really bad paraphrase, but essentially the meaning of it is people take what they want from God or divinity to use to make their life better. And you can't pick and choose. It's if you open up to God, you open up to God, and it's beyond your understanding, but it's opening up to something that you have to surrender to. You can't go, okay, I'll take that little piece because that will help me. So God will help me make money. Okay, yep, I'll believe in that and I'll say that mantra, and or whatever. And you can't do it that way. It has to be a dismantling of everything that you are, and it reminds me of something Jason said to me once. We were talking about mantras, and he said, a person can chant a mantra 1,000,000 times, but if the heart's not open and they're not in that space of devotion, it's just like saying toilet paper over and over again. It's kind of, it's about the reverence that you bring to it, or the devotion you bring to it. So you can't just do it mechanically, if that makes sense. So it's not about, it's like praying. Instead of let's say you pray before you eat, instead of saying, well, God bless this food and anyone who is involved in making it, and may it bless me, and doing it in an open, heartfelt way. If instead you say, right, God bless this food and may it make me much stronger so I can control everyone that I work with. And, it's a very different energy. That was a bad example, but it's just a very, very different energy to it. So I feel that the important thing for the beginning or any part of the spiritual journey is to come with devotion, come with humility, and knowing that there is something bigger than you and it's not about you. I think that's the important thing, because otherwise you can just go down this really, really strong ego path where you just become a horrible demon monster who tries to spiritually control everybody and everything. And it's just awful. That's not what spirituality is about, to me anyway. And I've talked too much, so I'll shut up now.
Well, the spiritual journey started for me, at least the realization of it, is when I first prayed to God. I mean, I guess I did prayers when I was young, but it was all forced by my family. So there was no real belief in it, at least, I guess I thought there was God, but there was really no proof to me as such that there is one. And then I remember, I think in my 20s or early 20s, I had a situation where I was suffering a lot. And that was the time where I truly, truly prayed to God from my heart. And I cried and prayed because I knew there was nothing else for me to do. There was nowhere to go. And it was so pure. And I guess there was a period of time where I didn't believe in God, or I guess I didn't know it was even in existence. So the reason I was saying that within a couple of days, all these prayers have been answered and everything what I asked for has happened. And to me, that was like, wow. So there's definitely something bigger than me. You can say I was using God to manipulate and do what I wanted. But to me, that was a good, I guess the first proof. I don't know if there is any proof, but there was a proof to me that God exists. And since then, I believed in God, and since that I start talking to him.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I don't feel that that's you manipulating God or wanting things for yourself. Like I was saying, that's coming to God completely humble, completely open, and just going, please help me. There's nothing else. You're just open. And in that state of openness, that's beautiful that you got your prayers answered. Because I feel that's how prayers get answered. It's not about you going, right, I'm going to click my fingers and I demand this.
Yeah.
It's about you asking humbly and, reverently and not expecting it, but just asking openly. And that's, that to me, that's when the answers come for sure. And that's beautiful as well, because that was your proof. God basically went, okay, yep, I exist. Thank you for talking to me. Here you go, and that's lovely.
And the theme of this week for me, and it always goes in circles, but this week was, I'm so tired of desires. Why do you want something? I'm so tired of the wants and needs. I just want to think of God and just want to surrender more. That was the theme of this week. Mostly joy and just being and just enjoying more than constantly needing, asking, wanting, desiring, and all of these words that you can come up with. It's like, I'm done with it. None of that again. And of course, the new way will come up, and then there will be new desires, or the old ones becoming fresh again and very, what's the right word? And very vivid, I guess. But this week was mostly surrender. I was like, I don't need anything. I don't want anything. I just want to surrender to God's will.
Yeah, that's a great state to be in. Lovely. Yeah, I feel that when I'm in that state, it's interesting that you spoke of that being the theme for your week, because mine has been, I guess surrender as well and devotion. It's just been, instead of fighting God or going, well, no, I want it this way. No, you're wrong. God, you don't know. It's just very much been, okay, no, I'm just going to listen to you, and what your guidance leads me to do, I will do. And so there's been very little thought. It's just been, okay, I'm just going to follow, as Aratima says, I'm going to follow divine law. It's just natural. And it's just been an amazing week in that respect, because it's just been more in flow. There's been no throwing up blocks or barriers or anything like that. It's just been very easy, very no need for thought. It's just been get up. Okay, Divine Lord tells me to do this. I'll do this. Okay, I'll eat this. I'll have the cucumber instead of the cake. I will, because that's light. It's divine, or whatever. It's a silly example. But it's closer to the way that I want to live. I want to live more and more in this way where it's just not about me at all. And it's just following God's law, just following God and honoring God in that I'm finding, because I know it's very new, but I've been exercising and eating better and just moving and being, trying to select the light path, doing the actions that are lighter rather than heavier, and choosing the light rather than the darkness, not even consciously, but just kind of following it. And it's just closer and closer to the way that I want to live all the time. And I want to be more and more this way. And the more I'm doing it and being it, just the more bliss there is, and the more joy there is, and the more ease there is. Like, for example, today was quite a good example. So I've been waking up early these days. So I woke up at 6, got out of bed immediately, got dressed, and went for a walk in the woods with my camera. And then sat and meditated in the woods. And it was because it was so early, there was nobody else there. And it was just, barely light. Well, it was kind of, the light was still very low. And it was just beautiful, just sitting in the woods, just breathing with the trees. And then I came home and had a salad. And, it's just, it felt just so much lighter and more easy and just more beautiful. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I guess, yes, going back to what you're saying about surrender, it's felt like throwing myself on God's feet, and kind of just going, well, no, it's not about me. Just, poke me if you want me to do something, kind of thing. And it's just been lovely. But surrendering to that which is bigger than me has been good.
Yeah, I like how you're talking about eating the cucumber versus the cake. I know you said it's not a good example. I always love the examples that you don't think are any good. But it just, the way you express it, it makes it so simple. And as I guess I like to do, I overcomplicate things. So for me, instead of being like, okay, well, I should be exercising, so let's just exercise. Then I go, okay, but what's the best exercise for me to do? Which I guess is a way of blocking it from happening, because for you to have to then think and decide, okay, which do I think, God wants me to do? Does he want me to lift weights today, or, do aerobic exercise? And that it's just better to do something, which is what I found this week. I was like, okay, well, at least I'm moving. It's like, if I'm not getting direct insight into this is the way I should be moving, or this is what I should be doing, at least I'm taking some step in the direction of what I feel like is, I guess, true to be doing. So, but that's something that gets very complex for me, because I know there are things that we're taught that are things that are good to do. But then I also know that direct guidance from God can be in stark contrast to that at times. And that's something that I'm trying to navigate. I'm like, all right, I know that this is something that's good to do in my mind. I've been told, to help with energy, it'll do this, it'll do that. And I'm like, is it right for me? Is it right in this moment? God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? So that's kind of something that I've been working on a little bit. And I think it just comes down to trying to be as quiet as possible, because I can get into the mind and thinking and be like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Instead of quieting the mind, being like, okay, stop asking. Maybe if you stop talking, you can hear God. And that was kind of the theme of my day yesterday, because my mind was just like, ugh. And it kind of mirrored what Katya was saying about desires. It's like this week was like all these different types of desires were popping up, and I'm just like, oh my God. But at the same time, I've been asking for this because I want to clear all of this out. I want to be closer to God. That's what we're doing, right? And the only way that's going to happen is by clearing these things out. So I'm like, okay, I don't really mind that it's here. It's like, help me be neutral. Help me not to plug into it. Like, and even if I do, it was like, I just want to, we want the same thing. We want to be with God. We want to experience, or at least I do, I want to experience the presence, his presence more, and feel the oneness. And I'm like, I don't really care what it looks like, but I was just like, help me to know that kind of what's happening is leading me closer to you versus me getting more embroiled in, something that's going to take me further away. But I guess just even wanting to be closer to God, it's there, that true longing. So I guess it doesn't really matter what it looks like.
And what comes up is great, because as you were saying, what comes up is what is the stuff that we need to clear. And like Katya, you were saying, it comes up and it's great and you surrender it. And then the next layer comes up and it looks exactly the same, but you surrender it. And then the next layer comes up, you're like, hang on, haven't we done this? But it's, it's just layers, isn't it? And I think it's great when it comes up, because it means it's clearing, because it's better if it comes up than you're completely numb to everything and it's just, pushed down there somewhere that you have no awareness that it's there,
The surrender part, though, I feel like that can look very different to me on a day-to-day basis. It's like one day something floats up, I look at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't need that anymore, and it's gone. Other times it's like, kind of how you're talking about in the podcast that I'm editing right now, is that getting into I've had this pattern for so long and wanting to dismantle it. I'm like, no, I can just let it go. But it's the forgetting, right? And it's like, I need to work on this.
And it's the wanting to understand it, because I know this is a theme that I've experienced a lot, wanting to understand things as you're clearing them, know what they are. But I'm finding recently, because I've been, since the last retreat, when Aratima taught us to chant God's name into things. So I've really wanted to sort out the diet and the exercise and the overweight for a long time. And I just haven't been able to. It's just there's been some block. So instead of trying to work out what the block is, I've just been chanting Allah into it, just over and over. Don't need to know what it is, just let's chant into it. And that's really cleared stuff. So the block is clearing, and I feel so different now. I have no idea what the block was, no idea what, anything about it. But all I know is that it's clearing. And because it's clearing, I'm now able to do things like eat healthily and want to eat healthily and exercise without having to, shoot myself in the head first, And it's great. So it's just getting rid of that block and not even thinking about it. It's been a really good thing for me, because I know my mind can sometimes want to really analyze things, and in this case, it hasn't at all. It's just right. Okay, the block is clearing. I can feel it, so I know it's happening. Don't know anything more than that. That's it, But it's making all the difference. And I feel that in some ways, it's like you were saying, Katya, earlier, praying and an answer to prayer. This, in a way, is the same thing. It's, I want to clear this block. Dear God, please help me clear this block. Okay, you've helped me clear this block. I don't then have to go, okay, God, so what did you do? It's kind of like, okay, thank you. All right, great. That's an answer to my prayer, and that's beautiful. And I don't want to know. I really don't want to know. I don't want to get into that tangle. It's gone. Bye.
Bye.
See, I wouldn't even see something as a block. I would just say, please help me to exercise and lose weight, whatever needs to be done. So I don't even see that there is something blocking it. I feel it's just me being lazy. But whatever.
Yeah, I think whatever works for anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I also wanted to say to the listeners, those who are really interested into how to start on the spiritual path, that our teacher Aratima said something like, God speaks to you when you're silent. And this leads to me saying that meditation is really the way to go, because that's really when you can silent or not silent, don't get it even more busy, your mind. But it's certainly a good practice to start working with. And there's different techniques how you can start and what to do. But definitely that's a good tool in the toolbox.
Oh, definitely.
We have an episode on how to meditate with a busy mind. If you haven't listened to it, you might want to.
Oh, perfect tie-in. That was fabulous. No, but definitely, for sure, meditation is so important. And another thing Aratima said to me recently that really helped me anyway, so I don't know if it'll help anyone who's listening, but if you're a person who can sometimes get a bit stuck on things and want to think things through a lot, such as myself, sometimes the best...
Kim, you just said sometimes the best, and then you just froze.
Oh no,
you completely froze. I was like, oh wow.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, so you might need to start again. Oh, what that Aratima told you.
What's the best thing we can do?
Just the key to life.
Cliffhanger. Yeah, tune in next week. We'll talk about.
Oh no. Well, that's funny. I'm trying to remember what I said now.
Something that Aratima mentioned to you.
Aratima said to me recently something that was really helpful, and can be very helpful for somebody who might like to analyze things or think things through and get stuck in that sometimes. She just said, just see the things that need to be done and just do them. And I know it sounds very simple and very basic, but that's been really helpful for me for the last few weeks. So as well as chanting Allah into the whatever, stopping the exercise and the health and all of this, just doing it. So it's like, okay, body wants to exercise, let's just get out there and do something. Eat something healthy, just do it. Don't even think about it. And through that, just doing it, the enjoyment then comes, rather than spending so much time beforehand going, oh, well, I could do this, or what should I eat? Not sure. Oh, how about, don't know. Just get something healthy, stick it in your face and eat it, and then find that your body's responding to it and enjoying it. And I feel that sometimes with a spiritual journey or any kind of journey, it's about doing it. It's taking that first step. It doesn't matter if it's right or if it's wrong. Just take a step. Just do it. And there are different ways to start. So have I frozen again?
No, sorry. You said just do it, not want to promote Nike in our last podcast. And now you're just saying just do it again. So I just thought it was funny.
I know. They've got a really, really good little phrase there, haven't they, the bastards?
You're like, they knew what they were talking about. Just do it. They're right. And it's funny because exercise has been your main thing. If they weren't such a bad company, maybe you'd be a lifelong customer, That was our conversation on the spiritual journey. Have you started a spiritual journey? If you're listening to this, chances are that you have. But what has your experience been on the spiritual journey? Please leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember to hit the bell icon to be notified of our next podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.